Sometimes the strongest move you can make isn't to argue, beg, or try to prove your worth. It's to walk away, quietly, confidently, as if he never even existed in your world, because when you do that, you show him, and more importantly, yourself, that your value was never tied to how he treated you. This isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your peace, your dignity, and your power. When you choose to detach and reclaim your power, you're making one of the most courageous decisions you could ever make in love. Detachment isn't about pretending you never cared or lying to yourself about the connection you shared. It's about recognizing that holding on is costing you more than it's giving you. When you walk away like you never knew him at all, you're not erasing the memories, but you're sending a powerful message. Your worth was never dependent on his attention, his affection, or his validation. That shift alone is enough to change the entire dynamic of how you feel about yourself and how others perceive you. Think about what happens when you stay emotionally tied to someone who no longer values you. Every text you wait for, every sign of approval you crave, every ounce of energy you spend trying to win him back, it all reinforces a story in your mind that your happiness depends on him. That story is dangerous because it puts your power in someone else's hands. The moment you decide to detach, you're rewriting that story. You're saying, "I don't need you to choose me for me to feel chosen." That is self-respect in its purest form. Detachment is not coldness. It's not bitterness. It's clarity. It's the moment you realize that loving yourself means not tolerating being treated like an afterthought. And here's the secret most people don't tell you. When you detach, you stop feeding the very cycle that was keeping you trapped. A man who thinks you're always available has no reason to step up. He knows you'll pick up his call, answer his text, forgive his inconsistency. But when you detach, when you pull your energy back without announcing it, you remove the safety net. Suddenly, he feels the space. Suddenly, he notices the silence. And that silence speaks louder than all the words you've ever said. The beauty of detachment is that it shifts your energy back to yourself. Instead of spending your days decoding his behavior or replaying conversations in your mind, you start investing in the one person who never abandoned you, you. You pour your energy into your goals, your passions, your friendships, your health. You begin to rediscover the parts of yourself that got lost in trying to hold on to him. This isn't just about moving on from him. It's about moving back into alignment with who you were before him and growing into an even stronger version of yourself. And here's where the power lies. People can sense when you've detached. It's in the way you carry yourself. It's in the way you stop reacting, stop chasing, stop explaining. Your calmness, your silence, your unbothered energy is magnetic because it shows that you're no longer emotionally controlled by someone else's actions. That's when he begins to wonder. That's when he begins to feel the absence of your presence. That's when he realizes he lost someone who was whole, not someone who needed him to feel complete. Most people believe detachment means losing something, but in truth, it's about gaining yourself back. It's reclaiming your time, your peace of mind, and your emotional freedom. It's standing tall in the knowledge that you are enough, with or without him. And the moment you step into that truth, you become unstoppable because no one can take away the power you've already claimed for yourself. When you decide not to feed his ego, you're doing something far more powerful than most people realize. The truth is, many men thrive on the attention they get even after they've stopped deserving it. They might no longer invest in you, no longer prioritize you, yet they still like the comfort of knowing you'll answer the phone, you'll react to their messages, or you'll stay emotionally tied to them. That attention is fuel, it's food for their ego, and the more you give it, the more they believe they can treat you however they want without losing you. The moment you stop feeding that cycle, the game changes completely. Starving the ego isn't about being cruel. It's about reclaiming the energy that was being misused. When you argue with him after he's dismissed you, you feed his ego. When you chase after him once he's pulled away, you feed his ego. When you try to prove your worth to someone who isn't treating you with respect, you feed his ego. But when you step back, when you decide his inconsistency doesn't deserve your reaction, when you let his silence be met with silence, you cut off the supply. You're no longer participating in the game that gave him power over you. What happens when you don't feed someone's ego is fascinating. At first, he might act confused. He's so used to your energy being directed at him that the absence feels strange. He may even test you, sending a casual message or breadcrumbing you with just enough attention to see if you'll bite. But when you stay grounded, when you don't rush to reply or don't let yourself get hooked back into the cycle, that's when he begins to realize something's different. That realization is uncomfortable for him because it forces him to confront the truth. He no longer has the power he thought he had over you. The strongest statement you can ever make isn't with words, it's with action. Silence in these moments is louder than any speech you could give. Your refusal to feed his ego tells him, without needing explanation, that you will not be a source of validation for someone who doesn't know how to value you properly. And here's the part most women don't realize. Men notice the difference between someone who reacts emotionally to everything they do and someone who refuses to play the game altogether. One keeps them comfortable, the other unsettles them. This isn't just about how he feels, though. It's about how you feel. Every time you resist the urge to feed his ego, you strengthen your own. You start proving to yourself that your emotions don't have to be dictated by his actions. You create space for your confidence to grow because your sense of worth no longer rises and falls based on how he treats you. That kind of emotional discipline builds resilience. It's like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Eventually, he may feel the absence so deeply that he comes back with stronger efforts. He may try harder, say the right things, do more to get your attention. But by the time that happens, you'll already know your strength. You'll know that whether he comes back or not, you're not dependent on his validation to feel whole. That's the irony of starving his ego. While he may end up regretting how he treated you, you won't be waiting for it anymore. You'll be too busy living a life that no longer revolves around giving someone else the attention they didn't deserve in the first place. When you shift your energy back to yourself, you begin to see the world differently. For so long, your focus may have been consumed by what he was doing, what he wasn't doing, what he was saying, or what he wasn't giving you. That kind of focus drains you, because every ounce of your energy goes into someone who isn't investing back. The moment you decide to redirect that same energy into yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing and you start creating. You stop waiting for validation and you start becoming the source of your own. The truth is, the love, time, and effort you gave him didn't disappear. It's still within you, but it was being poured into the wrong place. Shifting your energy back to yourself means reclaiming what was always yours. Imagine what happens when all that attention you used to give to him goes into your own growth. Instead of analyzing his mixed signals, you're learning new skills. Instead of wondering why he hasn't called, you're building your body, your career, your passions. That redirection doesn't just heal you, it transforms you. You begin to glow differently because you've reminded yourself that your happiness was never supposed to depend on another person's presence. This is why people often say the best revenge is success. It's not about flaunting or trying to show him what he lost. It's about genuinely upgrading your own life until you don't even care whether he notices or not. That's the freedom you earn when you put yourself back at the center of your own universe. The irony, of course, is that this is usually when he starts noticing. When you no longer orbit around him, when you're not clinging or waiting, you become magnetic. He begins to realize that your energy, which he once took for granted, is now focused somewhere he can't control. And that loss of control breeds regret. But here's the most important part. Shifting your energy back to yourself isn't about him at all. It's about finally honoring yourself. It's about realizing you've given enough, that you've fought enough, and that it's time to pour into the person who deserves it most, you. Every time you choose to invest in yourself instead of obsessing over him, you're sending yourself a message: I matter. My growth matters, my happiness matters. That affirmation, repeated through consistent action, rebuilds your self-esteem in ways that no man's attention ever could. You'll also notice how your world begins to expand. When your energy is stuck on someone who isn't right for you, your world feels small. It feels like everything revolves around him, but once you shift that energy back, opportunities appear. Friendships deepen, new connections form, your creativity awakens. You start attracting people and experiences that align with the new standard you've set for yourself. It's as if the universe rewards you for choosing yourself, and there's something incredibly attractive about that energy. People can sense when you're no longer drained, when you're fulfilled from within, when you're confident in your own lane. That's when you stop competing for anyone's attention, because you've realized your value doesn't require competition. A man who once thought you needed him now sees that you never did. You only chose him. And when you stopped choosing him, you didn't collapse. You flourished. That realization stings more than anything you could ever say to him. At the end of the day, shifting your energy back to yourself is about remembering that you are the prize. Not in a way that makes you arrogant, but in a way that makes you whole. Because when your energy fuels your own growth, you rise to a level where anyone who underestimated you has no choice but to watch you from a distance. You stop being someone who needs closure, explanation, or approval, and you become someone who creates her own happiness regardless of who stays or leaves. That's the kind of transformation no one can take away from you. When you act like you never knew him, you create a kind of mystery that he can't ignore. Human nature is wired to chase what feels uncertain, what feels out of reach, and what feels like it slipped through our fingers without explanation. When you remove yourself from his world and stop showing any sign that he still matters, you introduce that uncertainty. He no longer knows what you're thinking. He no longer feels sure of your emotions. And he no longer has the comfort of believing that you'll always be there if he decides to turn back. That void you create isn't just silence, it becomes a mirror, forcing him to face what life looks like without your presence. Distance has a way of amplifying value. Think about it. When something is always available, it feels ordinary. It's easy to take it for granted, to assume it will always be there, but the moment it disappears, the mind starts to notice. The absence becomes louder than the presence ever was. That's the essence of the mystery effect. By walking away as if you never knew him, you turn yourself into a question mark in his mind. And questions demand answers. He may start replaying memories, wondering why you've gone quiet, imagining scenarios of what you might be doing and who you might be with. That mental noise is the first step toward regret, but the power of this mystery isn't in making him regret. It's in the way it sets you free. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to make him understand, you reclaim your dignity. You no longer have to convince someone to value you. Your absence forces them to figure it out for themselves. The more you detach, the more space you create for curiosity to grow on his side. And the less you chase that curiosity, the more powerful it becomes. Because the truth is, people are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. When you were always available, he felt certain. Now he's uncertain, and that uncertainty is uncomfortable. Karma often works through silence. You don't need to plan revenge or orchestrate scenarios to make him feel your loss. The absence of your energy does the work for you. He may have thought he had endless time to come and go, to give you crumbs while keeping you on the hook. But when you act like you never knew him, you cut that string. You stop feeding the connection that gave him power. Suddenly, he's left with the realization that he no longer has access to what he once assumed was guaranteed. That's where karma hits hardest, in the space where he thought he was safe, but finds nothing waiting for him. There's also something deeply healing about this mystery for you. Acting like you never knew him isn't about faking indifference. It's about practicing indifference until it becomes real. Each time you resist the urge to reach out, each time you stop yourself from checking up on him, you build a stronger version of yourself. Over time, the mystery isn't just for him, it becomes for you too. You begin to discover sides of yourself you had forgotten, interests you had abandoned, and strengths you hadn't tapped into. In walking away, you don't just create distance for him, you create space for yourself. And that space is where transformation happens. He may be curious, he may regret, but by then you'll already be moving forward. The mystery he feels won't control you, because your focus won't be on how he perceives your absence. It will be on how you've reclaimed your life in your presence. That's the real power. Not that he misses you, but that you no longer need him too. The mystery effect may shake him, but it frees you. And once you've tasted that freedom, you'll never want to return to a place where someone else's attention determined your worth. He may have believed at one point that you needed him, that without his presence, without his affection, without his approval, you wouldn't be able to stand on your own. Many people operate under this illusion, because when they see someone giving deeply, they mistake that giving for dependence. But there's a world of difference between choosing to love someone and needing them to survive. When you walk away and prove that you were never dependent, you shatter that illusion. You show him that your strength was there long before he came into your life, and it will remain long after he's gone. Dependence makes people feel safe, but in the wrong way. If he thinks you're dependent on him, he assumes you won't leave no matter how he behaves. That belief can lead him to take you for granted, to stop appreciating the effort you make, and to start believing you'll tolerate less and less. But when you walk away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in quiet certainty, you send a different message. You remind him that you weren't with him because you couldn't live without him. You were with him because you chose to be. And once that choice no longer served your dignity, your happiness, or your peace, you made a different choice. That kind of strength is undeniable. The beauty of proving you're not dependent is that it doesn't require words. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to prove it through speeches or declarations. It's proven in the way you carry yourself, in your ability to rebuild, in your refusal to beg for what should have been freely given. Your actions speak louder than any attempt to explain, and those actions say, "I am whole, I am enough, and I am strong without you." That's a reality he cannot ignore, no matter how hard he tries to minimize it. Of course, this doesn't mean walking away is easy. Dependence often isn't about him at all. It's about the patterns we fall into. It's about the comfort of routine, the familiarity of someone always being there, even if their presence isn't healthy. Letting go of that can feel terrifying at first, because it forces you to face yourself without the distraction of another person. But that's exactly where growth happens. When you strip away the illusion that someone else completes you, you're left with the truth. You were complete all along. It was never about needing him. It was about learning to see yourself clearly again. And here's where the shift happens. Once you've proven to yourself that you don't need him, you rise to a level where anyone who comes into your life must add to it, not define it. That's a powerful standard. Men feel it instantly, the difference between someone who clings and someone who stands tall. The one who clings is easier to manipulate, easier to take for granted, The one who stands tall is magnetic because her love is a gift, not a survival mechanism. He begins to realize that he lost a woman who was never dependent, a woman who chose him but didn't need him. That realization hurts more than your absence alone, because it dismantles the ego he built around being essential to your happiness. The irony is that the moment you prove your independence, you become even more desirable, not just to him, but to everyone around you. Independence radiates confidence. It shows in your posture, your tone, your decisions, your boundaries. It sends a clear signal: I can love deeply, but I will never lose myself in the process. That balance of strength and softness is rare, and it makes you unforgettable. He may have thought he was the center of your world, but when he sees you thriving without him, he has to face the truth. You were always the center of your own world, and he was just invited in. That's the kind of proof no one can deny. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's undeniable. And once you've shown it to him and to yourself, you'll never again settle for being treated like you're dependent on someone else for your happiness. Closure is one of the most misunderstood parts of a breakup or a painful ending. So many people wait for it to come from the other person. They wait for the apology, the explanation, the long conversation that will finally make sense of everything. But what if it never comes? What if he never says sorry? What if he never explains why he pulled away or why he treated you the way he did? If you keep waiting for him to hand you closure, you're giving him control over when your healing can begin. Walking away like he never existed is about taking that control back. It's about deciding that closure isn't something he can give you, it's something you give yourself. When you choose to close the chapter without his input, you're setting yourself free. You're saying, I don't need your permission to move on. I don't need your acknowledgement to know my value. I don't need your version of the story to trust my own. That is the ultimate freedom, because it means your peace of mind is no longer tied to his actions. And that's the part most people miss. Closure from him often doesn't heal you. It just delays the healing, because you're still relying on him to give you what you deserve. Closure from yourself, however, is permanent. It comes from within, and no one can take it away. Walking away as if you never knew him isn't about erasing the memories. It's about refusing to let those memories define your future. It's about closing the door so firmly that you don't keep peeking back, wondering if he'll knock. That decision is powerful because it gives you the final say. He doesn't get to decide how long you grieve, how long you wait, or how long you keep your life on pause. You decide. And when you decide to end the story without his involvement, you become stronger than the heartbreak itself. The beauty of creating your own closure is that it shifts the narrative. Instead of being the person left behind, you become the person who chose peace over chaos. You become the person who recognized that no explanation could undo the pain and therefore stopped chasing one. That shift transforms your heartbreak into empowerment. Every time your mind tries to wander back, you remind yourself, I don't need to understand him to move forward. I just need to trust myself enough to let go. That self-trust is what heals you in ways his words never could. What often surprises people is how much faster they heal when they stop waiting. The waiting is what keeps the wound open. The checking, the hoping, the obsessing over what he might say. It prolongs the pain. But when you walk away as though he never existed, you start living again. You fill your time with your passions, your friends, your goals. You begin to rediscover joy in things that have nothing to do with him, and little by little, the wound closes not because he stitched it, but because you stopped reopening it. That's what true closure looks like. And yes, there may come a day when he realizes what he lost, when he finally tries to give you the apology or explanation you once wanted. But by then, it won't matter, because closure won't be something you're chasing anymore. You'll already have given it to yourself. You'll already know that you didn't need his words to heal, because your healing came from within. That's the ultimate power of walking away like he never existed. You take back the pen, you write the ending, and you walk forward carrying nothing but your own strength. Walking away like you never knew him isn't about pretending the love, the effort, or the memories didn't exist. It's about choosing yourself over someone who didn't know how to. It's about reclaiming your power, starving the ego that took you for granted, and redirecting your energy back into the one person who deserves it most, you. It's about becoming a mystery he can't solve, proving that you are never dependent, and giving yourself the closure he could never provide. When you walk away this way, you don't just leave him behind, you step fully into the version of yourself that no longer waits, no longer begs, no longer settles. You rise, and in that rise, you'll find the love, respect, and peace that was meant for you all along.